Hey everybody, this is Miss Miller, your photo teacher, and we are going to start your tutorial on how to make a Byzantine portrait. So hopefully you have been able to choose a portrait. I would prefer you to choose a portrait of yourself. If you want to do somebody else, just ask that person if it's okay and y'all switch and y'all can change each other's pictures. That way no one has, I just don't want repeats. So please take the time to do that. So when you find your picture and you save it to your computer, you're going to open it. Now it's a raw file, so when you right click and do open with and select Photoshop, it's going to automatically open in Photoshop, in Adobe Raw. So you remember this program, you can change some things here if you want to. You can, make the contrast, change the exposure. We really don't need to do much of that. So what you want to do when it opens in Adobe Raw is to go down here and click Open Image, and this will open your image in Photoshop. So you can see I've already started one. All right. So the next thing you want to do is crop your image. So just grab your crop tool. Remember over here, this is your toolbar. So the crop tool looks like two right angles. Click on that. And then I would just crop either a square or kind of a rectangle like that. And you can freehand it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you hit enter to confirm the change. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to select this figure and remove it from the background. That's why we photographed you against a white background, so it would be easier to do that. So there are different ways of selecting. I think the easiest way to do it is to use the magic wand tool. So again, if you go over here to your toolbox, it looks like a little magic wand. You click on it, and then what you're going to do is just click on the white space, and hopefully it'll select most of the white space. Now if you see a few areas where it didn't, hold down your shift key and keep clicking. Now you might grab a little extra, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. Once you do that, what we're going to do is invert the selection. So what I want you to do is go up to Select, Inverse. So now everything is selected, the figure instead of the background. And then we're going to make a copy of this figure. So you're going to go up to Layer, New, via Copy. And so if you look over here in your layer palette, you should see that layer. Remember when you click on these eyes, it closes or hides that layer. So now you can see that now we just have the figure right here. If you see a little extra maybe that you didn't get everything, like there's a little extra white or something, you can always go over here and grab your eraser tool and kind of get rid of some leftover artifacts. So you should have two layers. You should have your background layer and layer one. I think it's helpful to go ahead and rename your layers. So to do that, just double click on the text, and I'm going to label this figure. And then I'm actually going to create a new layer. There are various ways to do that as well, but I think the easiest way to do it is to go over here by your layer palette, and if you go down below, you'll see these icons, and it looks like a little sheet of paper, kind of with the corner turned. So just click on that. Again, you can always hover your pointer on anything, and it should let you know what it does. So It should create a layer, and then what you want to do is actually move this layer below the figure layer. So all you have to do is just kind of drag it. There you go. The next step is that we're going to create a yellow background. So what you're going to do is go over here to your toolbox, and this is your foreground and background color. It looks like two squares overlapping each other. What I'd like you to do, well, first, one thing you might want to get in the habit of doing is it always kind of saves what you worked on last time. So if you go down here, you'll see a little mini version of your foreground and background. It's the default. You can click on that. And then this little arrow here inverts them as well. So go ahead and click and make sure it's on your default. Then you're going to select the foreground, which is this one. You click on it and it brings up a color picker. So you can choose colors by clicking, but you can also type in numbers as well if there's a certain color that you like. When you click, if you look down below here, it gives you a code. And so sometimes that can be useful. If you really like a certain color that you clicked on, you can record it. So the yellow that we're going to use, and I want you to type this in over here, is 654 B0C. All right. And that's your new color. And then you're going to hit OK. And so now you can see that the foreground has been replaced by that color. So again, yeah, my dogs might interrupt this every once in a while. So just bear with me. The next step is that we're going to fill the background with this color that you just mixed. So double check over here to your palette and make sure that the layer 1 is highlighted. And then there are different ways to kind of fill it. One way is to go up here to edit, fill, and then it'll bring up a context box, and then it says, you know, fill with foreground color. And just hit OK. So there we go. I'll show you some other ways to fill the background later on. So now we're going to make a copy of this layer. So again, just the layer that we filled with yellow. So to do that, you can go up here to Layer, New, Media Copy. And so now you have two copies of it right here. So now what I want you to do, we're going to start making sort of the halo or the orb that's going to be around our figure, is to go up to View, click on that, and just make sure that your rulers and your snap is checked. And that will help us make our orb. We're going to make some guidelines. So the next step is that we are going to go up here to Edit, and then I want you just to select Free Transform, and it's going to create just a bounding box around your image. So the reason why we're using this bounding box, it'll help us create a crosshair so that we can center our halo or orb effect. So go over to the left and go into the ruler, and then you just click into the ruler and drag, and you'll drag a guide mark. And you can use the guide box or the bounding box to help you center it. So release, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go up to the top, click sort of into the ruler, and then again you can center it. Now it's up to you. Yeah, we'll do it here. Just center it right there, and then release. You're done with that. just hit enter to confirm the change or get rid of the bounding box. So what you want to do now is go over here and just go ahead and reset your foreground and background. So just click on that little default icon, and then what I want you to, and then invert them. So over here, just click invert so that the white is in front of the black. And then I want you to find your brush tool. So if you go up here to your toolbox, it looks like a brush, and it's just a brush. There are some other tools that look like brushes, but they do other things. So just make sure it's just the regular brush tool. So click on that. Whenever you click on a tool, it highlights it up here in this kind of tool option menu bar, and there are various ways you can change how that tool operates. So what I want you to do is plug in some of these measurements. So click on this little arrow and you can change the size of your brush. So I want you to put it at 3,000 pixels, and you can also just type in the number. And then I want you to change the hardness to 0, so it has a very soft edge. Then you're going to click in the center right here of your picture. So just click. Boom! And it gives you this kind of pretty light effect in the background. Then I want you to blend it. To do that, you're going to go over here to your layer palette. And this is the blending mode. You'll see it says, over here it says normal. Click on the arrow and I want you to select color dodge. There. So it gives us a much nicer glow effect. So the next step, go ahead over here and go over to your toolbox and just click this pointer, because that brush is so big, you don't want to have to worry about it. So go over to your blending, your palettes, your layer palette, and we're going to start working a little bit more on this background. It'll be easier if we hide the figure, so just go over here to where it says figure and click on the little eye, and you'll see the figure disappear. So we're going to add something called a layer mask to this layer 1 copy that we've created with this little orb. So again, make sure you're in the right layer. A layer mask kind of allows us to edit part of the picture and apply effects to it. And to do that, there's an icon right here below your layer palette. And again, if you hold your cursor over it, it should tell you what it does. But it looks like a rectangle with a circle inside. Click on that and you'll see it. It creates this layer mask. So go back over to your tool bar and invert the foreground and background color back to the default where the black is in front of the white square. And then you're going to go up here and select your brush tool again. So click on that. And this time we're going to change the pixel size. I would change it to about 2,500. And then we are going to change the hardness to 70, so just move up your slider or type it in. And then what I want you to do over here is make sure that the blending mode is set to normal. So that's another way you can change the blending modes. It's over here, and then it's also over here in your palette as well. So just make sure that's set on normal. And then you're going to, again, click in the center. Use your crosshair that you made to help you do that. Then you are going to invert. You're going to come over here, and we want to invert your layer mask. So to do that, you're going to use a keyboard command. So hit Control on the keyboard and then the letter I. All right. So now we're going to create a new layer. So go to your layer palette. The new layer icon is down here. Click on it. Let's rename that layer Ring. So double click on the text, type in ring. Then we're going to go over to our foreground and background icon. And then I want you to grab your eyedropper. It's right here. This is a tool. It looks basically like an eyedropper. You click on it, and then I want you to click on the brightest yellow that we have here. So just click on it. So when you use your eyedropper, you can see that now the foreground color has been replaced with that yellow that you selected. So now we're going to use a selection tool to create a ring. So in your toolbox, I want you to go over there, and there's something called the elliptical marquee tool. Now, it might be hiding. So if you click on these arrows, you can see hidden tools in the corner. So your rectangle marquee tool might be the one that's visible. So just if that's the case, just click on this little arrow in the corner and then select the elliptical marquee. So now we're going to draw your little, or your ring, or what is going to be your ring. So to make your marquee, what you're going to do is hold down Alt and Shift, and then move your cursor in the center of your crosshair, and then just drag. And that holding down the Alt Shift will help you center it. Now, it's really hard to do on a keyboard, so I suggest maybe doing it with the mouse because I need to do this again. If you mess up, you can always go select, deselect, and then try it again. So again, if you don't hold down Alt Shift, see, I'll show you. It'll just, it just makes it wherever. So the Alt Shift will help you consistently pull from the center and keep it consistent. So let's try that again. And then you want to make your marquee, about halfway between, the yellow part of your image and the edge of your document. All right. Now we're going to go up here to Edit, and you're going to select Stroke. And then what I want you to do is change the pixels width to 200. Mine is already set to 200. Make sure location is set to center, and then hit OK. Boom. So you have your ring. Now, if you can play around with the thickness of it if you want, but this is what I decided to do. So we're going to stop here. Well, actually go select, deselect. All right. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to continue making our celestial orb in the next part of the video. Be sure to save your work, okay? So when you're saving, go up here to File, Save As, and you can just save it as a Photoshop file. Make sure it is a Photoshop file. If you change it to a JPEG, it's going to compress all your layers, and you're not finished yet, so you don't want to do that. So double check, rename it, Byzantine portrait working, so that that's the one with the layers. Make sure it's set to Photoshop, and then save it to wherever you can find it again. Okay, I don't know where you guys save things. You should have a photo one folder somewhere on your computer. You might have to use the C drive because the network drive might be full. You might have to save to a USB drive. So whatever you do, it's your responsibility for saving, and if you don't save properly, you're going to have to start over. Okay? All right. See you in part 2.